The Caribbean has become a widely popular tourist destination. Fun, environmentally friendly attractions include walking on the white sand beaches, swimming in the clear blue waters, and overfishing the surrounding coral reefs. The waters of the Caribbean region are home to about 7% of the coral reefs across the planet. Two-thirds of this area is threatened by human activity, which is largely due to overfishing. A study conducted by 4 biologists was recently published in August of 2016 that aimed to shed light on the ineffectiveness of marine conservation regulations in that area. A well-preserved reef ecosystem depends on the nutrient capacity of that region. That is to say that the health of a reef ecosystem can be gauged by the amount of nutrients in the ecosystem as a whole, and the rate at which these nutrients are cycled throughout the ecosystem. Little research had previously gone into figuring out what was specifically causing the drop in nutrient capacity, until these 4 brave scientists. Policymakers have worked with the belief that as long as biodiversity is maintained, everything should be fine and dandy. Though, by the way, only 6% of the area was even found to be effectively managed by these decision makers. Dr. Algier and company found out that this was, in fact, not the case. They studied several factors that could affect the nutrient cycles in the coral reefs, including species richness, aka the amount of species that exist in the reef, and mean biomass weighted trophic level, which simply refers to the effects of nutrient capacity change at the trophic level. These were the 2 factors found to best predict nutrient capacity. However, at the scale of a fish community, the factors that affect nutrient capacity extend beyond raw biomass. Our researchers took this into account, measuring the same nutrient cycles as biomass-specific activities, which ultimately allowed them to assess each factor's relative importance. Trophic level was still one of the 2 most important factors, but the skewness of community size dethroned species richness for a top 2 spot. These results support the importance of maintaining a well-balanced food web. Additionally, the artificial conditions created by humans may cause organisms at the top trophic levels to evolve to different environmental conditions, overfishing, than other members of the ecosystem. Traits that make fish less likely to be caught, such as tendencies to avoid groups or to be smaller in size, may increase fitness in the presence of humans, but these traits may then cause populations of fish to be maladapted to the normal reef ecosystem. So what does all of this mean? Well, algae and coral absorb some sunlight, eat some microscopic organisms, and process organic debris. Small fish feed off this zooplankton as well, in addition to plant life. Other fish, known as piscivores, which are generally larger, feed off these small fish and crustaceans. When these piscivores die, they then become the organic debris that can be processed by other organisms, thus forming a cycle of nutrient exchange. This also forms the food web of the coral ecosystem, where matter cycles between all organisms. The different classes of organisms form the trophic levels discussed earlier. Remember that trophic levels form the basis for one of the central reasons that the health of reefs has decreased. This sort of makes sense though, right? If you were a fisher or running a fishing company, what type of fish would you try to catch? Would you try to balance out the catch with small fish close to the reef? Probably not. You'll just take those big fish at the top of the food chain because they will in turn result in the most profit from their larger supply of meat or oil. This results in a disproportionate amount of loss to the trophic groups highest up the food chain. Furthermore, not only are there suddenly less fish from this trophic level, all of the nutrients that had been stored in those fish are now removed from the cycle. Normally, only energy is lost in the ecosystem cycle, but overfishing takes out nutrients and matter that matter to the ecosystem. Outside nutrient sources were not researched much in this study, although the authors of the paper did not believe outside nutrient sources to play a significant role in the ecosystem. These sources could come from upwellings from the Hadley cell that the Caribbean is located in. Also, seasonal winds in the fall and spring may cause nutrient circulation and replenish a portion of the harm caused by humans. The drastic decrease in the biomass at particular trophic levels was found to be, quote, devastating to the nutrient capacity of coral reefs. Furthermore, as particular populations are targeted, the gene pool of that population declines, causing the population to have less diversity and adaptability. Long-term consequences may result from a lack of gene flow between compatible populations or from bottleneck genetic drift. These would also lower the genetic diversity of the population.